I need to tell you what happened in my house last month because I still can't sleep properly. And maybe putting this out there will help me make sense of it all. I'm 32 and I live alone in a 2-bedroom house in Austin, Texas. I work from home as a graphic designer, which means I'm here most of the time. The place isn't huge, but it's mine, and I've always loved the privacy. At least I used to. About 6 months ago, I hired a maid service. Nothing fancy, just someone to come in twice a week to clean while I was out running errands or grabbing coffee. The company sent over this woman named Linda. Mid-50s, quiet, did her job well. We barely spoke beyond pleasantries. She had her key, I had my routine. It worked perfectly. Until I started noticing things. Small things at first. A coffee mug I distinctly remembered leaving in the sink would be in the dishwasher, but not with the other dishes, just sitting there alone on the top rack. I'd find my bedroom slippers moved from one side of the bed to the other. My bathroom cabinet would be open just a crack when I knew I'd closed it. I brushed it off. I'm not the most organized person, and I figured maybe I was just forgetting things. Stress from work, probably. But then it got weirder. One Thursday, I came home after Linda had been there. The house smelled like lemon cleaner. Everything looked spotless, like always. I went to my bedroom to change, and that's when I saw it. My jewelry box was open, not ransacked or anything. Everything was still there, but it was open. I never leave it open. Ever. I texted Linda through the service app, asked her if she'd moved anything in my bedroom. She replied within minutes. "No, ma'am, I only dust surfaces, don't touch personal items." Okay, fine. Maybe I had opened it that morning and forgot. But my hands were shaking as I typed back, "No problem, thanks." The next week I decided to test something. Before Linda's Tuesday visit, I placed a hair tie on my dresser in a very specific spot, right next to my perfume bottle. When I got home that afternoon, the hair tie was gone. Completely gone. I searched everywhere. Under the dresser, in the trash, in the drawers, nothing. I found it 3 days later in my kitchen junk drawer. A drawer I rarely open, a drawer that has no reason to contain a hair tie from my bedroom dresser. I didn't say anything. I don't know why. Maybe because it sounded insane. What was I going to do, accuse my maid of moving a hair tie? But I started feeling uncomfortable in my own home. That feeling you get when something's just off. Then came the Tuesday that changed everything. I was in my office working on a project, and Linda was supposed to come at 1 p.m. I heard her key in the lock right on time, heard her call out, "Hello, Miss Sarah," like she always did. I called back, told her I was working and to go ahead. I had headphones on, music playing while I designed. I was in the zone. About an hour later, I took a break, stretched, got up to grab some water. The house was quiet. I walked into the kitchen and Linda wasn't there. I checked the living room, empty. The bathroom, nothing. "Linda?" I called out. No answer. I walked through the entire house. She wasn't anywhere. Her cleaning supplies were in the hallway. The vacuum was plugged in but turned off. But Linda was gone. The front door was still locked from the inside. The back door, locked. Every window closed and latched. My heart started pounding. I grabbed my phone and called the service. The woman who answered sounded confused. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but Linda called in sick today. She's not scheduled to be at your home." The room tilted. "What?" "Linda has the flu. She called out this morning. We tried to reach you to reschedule, but got no answer." I checked my phone. 2 missed calls from an unknown number. I'd been wearing headphones. "Then who the hell is in my house?" I whispered. The woman on the phone went silent. Then she said, "Ma'am, you need to call the police right now." I hung up and dialed 911 with shaking fingers. I locked myself in my office while I waited, heart hammering so hard I thought I'd pass out. The operator stayed on the line with me. 7 minutes until the cops arrived. Longest 7 minutes of my life. They searched the entire house. Closets, under beds, the attic, the garage. Nobody was there. But here's what they found that made my blood run cold. In my guest bedroom, the one I never used, the closet door was open. Inside there was a blanket spread out on the floor, a pillow, an empty water bottle, a granola bar wrapper, and a small notebook. Someone had been living in my closet. The notebook had dates, dozens of them going back almost 3 months. The dates Linda was scheduled to come, and next to each date there were notes about me. She left at 1:15 today, came back at 3:40. Keep spare key in the kitchen drawer, third from the left. The officer holding the notebook looked at me with an expression I'll never forget. Pity mixed with horror. They dusted for prints, found several that didn't match mine or Linda's, ran them through the system but got no hits. Whoever this person was, they'd never been arrested. The detective assigned to my case told me it was likely someone who knew Linda's schedule, who'd been watching the house, who slipped in during one of her cleaning sessions and just stayed. The spare key I kept in that kitchen drawer? Gone. I had all my locks changed that same day. Installed cameras, a security system. I barely slept for weeks. But here's the part that still keeps me up at night. About a month after all this happened, I was going through my photos on my phone looking for something work-related. I scrolled back to a random day in July. Just regular pictures of my morning coffee, my desk setup, nothing special. And then I saw it. A photo I didn't take. Time-stamped at 2:47 a.m. on a night Linda had been scheduled the day before. It was a picture of me, asleep in my bed, taken from the doorway of my bedroom. The angle was clear. Someone had stood in my doorway in the middle of the night, used my own phone from my nightstand, taken a photo of me sleeping, and put the phone back. I reported it immediately. The detective said it confirmed their theory, but without prints matching anyone in the system, there wasn't much they could do beyond patrol my neighborhood more frequently. I moved out 2 weeks later. Broke my lease, paid the penalty, didn't care. I live in a high-rise apartment now, 10th floor, with a doorman and security cameras everywhere. But sometimes late at night I wonder if whoever that was found out where I moved to. If they're patient enough to wait. If they're watching my new routine, learning my new schedule. Because the truly terrifying thing isn't that someone broke into my home. It's that they were there for months, living in my space, breathing my air, watching me sleep. And I never knew. I never had a single clue. We needed help around the house. That's all it was supposed to be. My wife Sarah and I both worked long hours, and our place in suburban Connecticut was falling apart. Laundry piled up, dishes sat in the sink for days, and dust covered every surface. We weren't lazy, we were just exhausted. So when Sarah suggested hiring a maid, I didn't hesitate. We found her on one of those home service websites. Her name was Helen. 52 years old, excellent reviews, background check cleared. The photo showed a plain-looking woman with graying hair and a polite smile. Nothing remarkable, nothing that would make you look twice. She started on a Tuesday morning. I was working from home that day, so I let her in around 9. She was exactly like her photo, quiet, professional, polite. She didn't talk much, just nodded when I showed her around and explained what we needed. I went back to my office upstairs and honestly forgot she was even there. That's how good she was at first. Silent, efficient, invisible. After her first week, our house looked better than it had in months. Sarah was thrilled. I was relieved. Helen came every Tuesday and Friday, and for a while everything was perfect. Then small things started happening. It began with my coffee. I'm particular about my coffee. 2 sugars, splash of cream, no more. I make it the same way every single morning. But one Friday, about 3 weeks after Helen started, my coffee tasted different. Sweeter. Like someone had added an extra sugar. I didn't think much of it. Maybe I'd been distracted, but it happened again the next Tuesday. And then I noticed my desk chair was adjusted. Not much, just slightly lower than I keep it. My notebooks were stacked differently. The lamp on my desk was tilted at an angle I never used. I mentioned it to Sarah that night. "You think Helen's going through your stuff?" she asked. "I don't know, maybe she's just cleaning and moving things." Sarah frowned. "I asked her not to touch your office." That made my stomach drop a little, but I pushed it away. Maybe there was a miscommunication. Maybe Helen forgot. The following Tuesday, I set up a test. I left my office door slightly ajar, exactly 3 inches. I measured it. Before I went downstairs to grab lunch, I checked. 3 inches. When I came back 15 minutes later, the door was open about a foot. My heart started pounding. I walked in slowly, looking around. Everything seemed normal, but that feeling, you know that feeling when you can tell someone's been in your space? I had it. Strong. I checked my desk drawers. Nothing missing. My computer was asleep, just like I'd left it. But my chair was warm. Someone had been sitting in it. I went downstairs. Helen was in the kitchen, wiping down the counters, humming softly to herself. "Helen," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, "how were you in my office?" She turned, her face blank. "No. You asked me not to clean in there." "The door was open." "Must have been the wind," she said, turning back to the counter. "Old houses settle funny." There was no wind. The windows were closed. I didn't say anything else, but I started watching her more carefully. I'd find excuses to walk past whatever room she was in just to check. And that's when I noticed her eyes. She was always looking at something. Not cleaning, just staring. At family photos on the wall. At Sarah's jewelry box on the dresser. At the lock on our bedroom door. She'd stand there perfectly still, studying things like she was memorizing them. One time I caught her in our bedroom holding one of Sarah's scarves, not cleaning with it, just holding it up to her face. "Helen?" I said from the doorway. She didn't jump, didn't startle. She just slowly lowered the scarf, folded it neatly, and placed it back in the drawer. "Pretty color," she said quietly. That night I told Sarah we needed to let Helen go. "She's been going through our things. I've seen it. Something's not right." Sarah agreed, but she wanted to wait until Friday to tell her in person, to give her 2 weeks' notice and pay her out. She said it was the right thing to do. I wish we hadn't waited. Thursday night I couldn't sleep. Sarah was out cold beside me, but I kept thinking about Helen. About the way she looked at our things, about my warm chair, about that scarf. Around 2 in the morning, I heard something downstairs, not a crash, not footsteps, just a small sound. Like a drawer closing. I sat up in bed, my heart hammering. Sarah didn't move. I grabbed my phone and crept to the bedroom door, listening. Silence. I was about to convince myself I'd imagined it when I heard it again. Definitely a drawer. In the kitchen. We didn't have a security system. I know, we should have. I grabbed a baseball bat from the closet and moved slowly down the stairs, my hand shaking so hard I almost dropped it. The kitchen light was off, but I could see a shape. Someone was standing at our counter. I flipped the light switch. Helen was there in our kitchen at 2 in the morning. She was wearing the same clothes from work, her usual gray shirt and black pants. She had our silverware drawer open and was running her fingers over the knives one by one like she was selecting something. "What the hell are you doing in my house?" She turned to look at me. Her face was completely calm, not surprised, not embarrassed, just calm. "I still have a key," she said simply. "How did you?" "We never gave you a key. You left one under the mat. Second day I worked here, I made a copy." She said it like it was the most normal thing in the world. "Get out," I said. "Get out right now or I'm calling the police." Helen tilted her head slightly. "I've been taking care of you, both of you. You need me. We're firing you. We were going to tell you tomorrow. Now get out." For the first time, something changed in her expression, not anger, something worse. Disappointment. Like I was a child who'd misbehaved. "You don't mean that," she said softly. She took a step toward me. I pulled out my phone and dialed 911. My hands were shaking so badly I almost couldn't do it. Helen watched me the entire time. I told the dispatcher someone had broken into our house, that they were still here. The whole time, Helen just stood there. Then slowly she reached into her pocket, my whole body trembling. She pulled out a small notebook, the kind you'd buy at a dollar store. She opened it and held it up so I could see. The pages were filled with writing. Things I'd written in my journal, emails I'd typed, passwords I'd scribbled on post-it notes. Page after page after page of my private thoughts, my information copied perfectly in her tight, neat script. "I know everything about you," she said quietly. "Everything about both of you. Where Sarah's mother lives, your bank account numbers, what time you go to sleep, what makes you afraid." The police sirens were getting closer. I could hear them coming down our street. Helen closed the notebook and put it back in her pocket. She walked past me so close I could smell her perfume, the same perfume Sarah wore. She'd taken it. She was wearing my wife's perfume. At the door she stopped and looked back at me. "You should have just kept me," she said. "I was only trying to be part of the family." Then she walked out into the night. The police found her 3 blocks away, still walking calmly down the sidewalk. In her car, they found notebooks, dozens of them, not just about us, about every family she'd worked for over the past 6 years. Photos she'd taken of their children, copies of house keys, detailed notes about routines, schedules, fears, secrets. She'd never hurt anyone. That's what the police said. She just collected them, studied them, inserted herself into their lives without them knowing. The detective told us we were lucky, that some of the families in those notebooks had never even realized she'd been watching them that closely. that she could have done anything. We moved 3 months later, changed all our locks, our passwords, everything. But sometimes late at night I still think about her standing in our kitchen, about all those notebooks, about how she said she knew everything about us, and the worst part, she was right, she did. I need to tell someone about this. I need to get it out there, because what happened in my house last year still keeps me up at night. I live in a suburb outside Portland, Oregon, nothing special. Just a regular 3-bedroom house on a quiet street where everyone knows everyone. Last spring, my husband Daniel got a promotion that had him traveling constantly. I was working from home, juggling conference calls and deadlines, and our house was falling apart. Dishes piling up, laundry everywhere, dust collecting in corners I didn't even know existed. That's when Daniel suggested we hire someone to help out. Just twice a week, he said, someone to clean, do the laundry, maybe prep some meals. I was hesitant at first, you know. Having a stranger in your home feels invasive. But I was drowning, so I agreed. We found her through one of those housekeeping apps. Her name was Marion. Excellent reviews, background check, came back clean. The photo showed a plain-looking woman with graying hair pulled back in a bun. She looked trustworthy, grandmotherly even. She started on a Tuesday morning in April. I was upstairs in my office when she arrived, so I just called down a hello and told her to make herself comfortable. I heard her moving around downstairs, the vacuum humming, water running in the kitchen. Normal sounds. Comforting, actually. When I came down for lunch, the house looked incredible. Everything gleamed. She'd even organized the junk drawer in the kitchen, something I'd been putting off for months. Marion was wiping down the counters, and she smiled at me warmly. "You have a beautiful home," she said. Her voice was soft, almost motherly. "Thank you, Marion." She nodded and went back to work. Over the next few weeks, Marion became part of our routine. She had her own key, came every Tuesday and Friday morning, usually finishing by early afternoon. Sometimes I was in meetings and barely saw her. She'd text me when she was done, always adding little notes. "Restocked the paper towels. Your roses needed water, so I took care of them. Found your missing earring behind the dresser." It was that last text that should have been my first warning sign. I'd lost that earring weeks ago and had looked everywhere. How had she found it behind my dresser? Had she moved the furniture? But I brushed it off. She was thorough. That's what I paid her for. Then Daniel noticed something odd. He came home from a trip in early May and asked me why I'd rearranged the clothes in his closet. "I didn't touch your closet," I said. "Well, someone did. Everything's organized by color now. Even my socks are folded differently." We both looked at each other. Marion, it had to be. But Daniel just shrugged. I mean, it looks nice. Maybe she thought she was being helpful. I texted her that night, kept it polite. "Hey Marion, thanks for all your hard work. Just wanted to mention that Daniel's closet is his space, so no need to organize it." "Thanks," she replied within seconds. "Of course. I apologize. Won't happen again." But it did happen again. Not with the closet, but with other things. Small things. My skincare products in the bathroom were rearranged. The books on my nightstand were stacked differently. The pillows on our bed were positioned in a way I never left them. I started feeling uneasy, but I didn't know how to bring it up without sounding paranoid. She was still doing an amazing job with the actual cleaning. The house had never looked better, and her reviews were glowing. Was I overreacting? Then I found the notebook. It was a Friday in late May. I came downstairs to grab some coffee and saw Marion's bag sitting on the kitchen chair. She was in the laundry room and the bag had tipped over, spilling some contents onto the floor. I bent down to pick things up. Her wallet, some receipts, a pack of gum, and a small spiral notebook. It had fallen open to a page covered in handwriting. I picked it up, my hands starting to shake. The page was dated from 2 weeks ago. It read like a diary entry talking about my day, my feelings about Daniel being gone, how I'd felt lonely that evening. Details about what I'd eaten for dinner, what I'd watched on TV. I flipped back through the pages. There were dozens of entries, all written as if they were from me, all documenting my life in intimate detail. My heart was hammering in my chest. I could hear Marion humming in the laundry room, the dryer tumbling. I quickly shoved everything back into her bag and went upstairs. I locked my office door and tried to breathe. What was this? Why was she writing about me like that? Was she pretending to be me? I wanted to call the police, but what would I say? My housekeeper keeps a weird diary. That's not illegal. I thought about confronting her, but something stopped me. A cold, creeping fear that told me to be careful, to not let her know I'd seen it. So I installed a camera, just a small one in the living room hidden on a bookshelf. I told myself I needed proof before I did anything drastic. The footage from that weekend made my blood run cold. Marion had come on Tuesday while I was out getting groceries. I watched the recording that night. She did her normal cleaning for about an hour. Then she stopped. She walked upstairs, straight to my bedroom. She opened my dresser drawers, running her fingers over my clothes. She picked up a sweater and held it against herself, looking in the mirror. Then she lay down on my bed, on my side. She pulled the covers up to her chin and closed her eyes, just lying there for almost 10 minutes. When she got up, she walked to my vanity and sat down. She picked up my perfume and sprayed it on her wrists. She opened my jewelry box and tried on my wedding ring. It didn't fit, so she held it up to the light, turning it slowly like she was admiring it. Before she left my room, she opened my nightstand drawer and pulled out a book I'd been reading. She flipped to a page I'd bookmarked and read it, mouthing the words to herself. I had to stop the video. I ran to the bathroom and threw up. This woman wasn't just cleaning my house. She was living in it, pretending to be me when I wasn't there. I called Daniel immediately. He caught the next flight home. We called the police, showed them the footage and the notebook I'd photographed. They were concerned, but explained that technically, she hadn't stolen anything or made any threats. They could have a conversation with her, issue a warning, but there wasn't much else they could do. We changed the locks that day. I sent Marion a text saying we no longer needed her services, effective immediately. I didn't give a reason. I was too afraid. She didn't reply. For a few days I thought it was over. Then I started noticing things. A car parked across the street that looked like hers. My trash bins opened and gone through. A package delivered to my door that I didn't order. It was the same perfume I wore. The police did a welfare check. Marion was living in a small apartment downtown. They said she seemed cooperative, denied everything, seemed confused about why we'd let her go. There was nothing they could charge her with. We moved 3 months later. Sold the house and relocated to Seattle. I work in an office now. I'll never work from home again. And I'll never ever let a stranger have a key to where I live. Sometimes I still wonder if she's out there working for another family, learning their routines, trying on their lives like clothes. And I wonder if they'll notice before it's too late. If these stories scares you, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs a good scare. Don't forget to subscribe to Mr. Terrifying for more horror stories. There are plenty more nightmares waiting for you here. Until next time, stay safe out there and always